This is childhood in the so-called Islamic State. This footage, filmed secretly in Raqqa and passed to the BBC, is of what IS calls the cubs of the caliphate. They are child soldiers, barely teenagers. Clumsy and armed to the teeth, their guns are almost too big for them. Even as IS is collapsing, it's investing in its future. It's a slow and steady defeat. This was IS's capital in Iraq. Mosul's old city is now in ruins. This is where the IS war machine suffered its biggest defeat, but it isn't the end of them. Here their fighters honed their skills. This was their training ground. Imagine fighting in this and then surviving. Well, some did, some escaped, and some have made it to Europe. We travelled to Belgium, and there we met Ahmed. He joined IS when he was just 15.
They taught me how to use a Kalashnikov. We stayed for 7 days in Mosul. They would keep talking about martyrdom operations. I was brainwashed, and I believed it. I told my family, you can't change my thoughts, and no matter what you do, I'm going to stay.
He became disillusioned with IS and escaped first to Turkey, then Europe. The authorities here don't know about his past.
They were my enemies, and now I'm living amongst them, eating and drinking with them. They've received me and looked after me. When all this happened, I started to hate my entire past and decided to establish a new life.
He's not alone. We travelled to Germany where we met Mutassin. Again, his youth means his IS membership has gone undetected here. He was one of many groomed by the group.
They would give us whatever we wanted, and they would tell us that we are the best, that we are right and all the others are wrong and must fear us. They would also allow us to carry our weapons wherever we go.
For 2 weeks, he underwent military training and was schooled in Sharia law. He was assigned to an IS media unit. Others, though, volunteered for suicide missions.
They prefer children to adults because they can use them to bomb between civilians. Nobody would expect that a 14 or 16-year-old boy would bomb himself.
Both teenagers that we met say they've turned their backs on IS. But as we travelled across Europe, we learned of at least 3 more young fighters living here. We approached the EU police force Europol, but they declined to comment. Europe is still vulnerable, but it's here where the journey begins. On the Turkish border, Syrian refugees can still slip through, scrambling past searchlights and guard towers. Near the border, I met a people smuggler from Raqqa. He's one of many still operating. He helped one of the boys make it from IS territory to Europe in only a month.
I've helped many, a huge number. The route is getting worse. It used to be easier back in 2014 and 2015. Now the situation is more difficult due to the presence of US-backed forces. You have to go through the Kurds, the rebels, and the borders. It's difficult.
IS is not yet defeated. Its territory is shrinking and its supporters fleeing. These are the final days of their so-called caliphate, but still the Islamic State is no less of a threat. And amid these ruins, they leave behind a legacy. Hundreds of child soldiers and a new generation of hate. Quentin Sommerville, BBC News, Mosul.